We have your tropical thoughts live now. What we are tracking is dangerous surf and a risk for rip currents, especially along the East Coast. We've been talking about that all week long. That's going to start next week, so there's still a lot of time for them to prepare. Tropical storm force winds for the Leeward Islands over the weekend. That's in the Caribbean. And then the big thing that we are watching, especially for South Texas, is going to be the tropical wave to impact our area Friday and Saturday. Good morning, everyone. I'm Meteorologist Carly Smith. I'm sending out a little push alert if you have the app, so you can watch that direct that way. Because not everyone is on Facebook at 10 a.m. in the morning. We are also streaming live on Roku, Fire TV, Apple TV. So if you want to watch on a television, you can. Live at 10 a.m. during hurricane season, especially when there's an active storm. I will try to always be live. But right now it is 10:03 a.m., so we're a little late, but not too late, which is great. There's been some updates on Erin, but not a lot. What we are really going to focus on is the tropical wave that is going to impact areas in the Western Gulf. It's going to increase our surf, and that will be exciting for surfers in the area. Not the best conditions for fishing. All right, push alert is being sent now. So we're going to get underway in your forecast. Those were the headlines. Now here's the latest look at our upper atmospheric energy. What we are watching are the little tropical waves, right? And what I really want to show you in this graphic is we are still seeing that breakdown of the high that's going to allow for what is Erin. Of course, we have Tropical Storm Erin we're tracking to turn to the north as it is a hurricane, by the way. So this is expected to be the first hurricane of the season, and it also is expected to be a major hurricane, especially by the time it is tracking there near the Caribbean islands. So how far east or how far west it winds up, that's still a little bit of a question mark, but it is expected to turn north. And so with that forecast, limited impacts to the East Coast, but definitely an elevated surf and an elevated rip current risk. Dangerous rip current risk at that is expected across the East Coast with long periods and high waves. We're talking over 10-foot waves possible, but that's the East Coast. You can see the Erin, the forecast cone, taking it north, but we are going to focus on tropical wave Invest 98L. So we've got some people watching. Doesn't look like it's going to hit Corpus. It won't be that bad. Okay, so I'm not sure which storm you're talking about, Bruce. It won't be that bad, but Invest 98L is going to impact the coastal bend. It is not expected to develop. If it has a low chance of developing at this point to a tropical depression or a tropical storm. So we're not expecting dangerous conditions with this storm, but it is going to pick up our rain chances a bit, pick up our surf a bit. Nothing extreme, but you're going to notice differences in the day-to-day weather, especially since today is sunny and hot. It's going to be much different on Friday. How much rain are we going to get this weekend? Esteban, it doesn't look like much. I don't think I have an exact rainfall forecast, but I would say near the coast, a ½ inch is possible. Now, these are tropical showers, so they could be a little bit more intense for isolated areas, but that's not a guarantee for everyone. So some locations could wind up over a ½ inch, while some locations are lucky to see a 1/10 of an inch. It's going to be very spotty because this isn't an organized system. What we are seeing is the wave, the center of the wave is now being investigated by the National Hurricane Center so we can run the forecast models. And the forecast models are the spaghetti plots, which are indicating, those lines indicate where the center of that tropical wave will be. Now, this tropical wave is disorganized. That's why it's a wave and not a named storm, because it's disorganized. And so finding the center isn't easy. That's why there's several kind of different runs that have kind of a more of a wider range of where the storm may wind up, but it could be as far north as Corpus Christi and as far south as areas into northern Mexico. It does look to stay far north of Tampico, Mexico. But one thing to note is because this is also going to be in an area or in there's going to be some fetch at play where there's some elevated winds between an area of high pressure and low pressure. I'm not sure if I have that graphic pulled into this live update, but I showed it all morning long for 4 hours on First Edition, which is streamed live on 3 News Plus, like I mentioned, on your Roku, Fire TV. It's an app. You just got to download for free, and then you can watch 3 News anytime you want, any time of day. But we are live from 5 to 9 a.m. on the app for First Edition. Anyway, heavy rain is going to be isolated to scattered. So yes, there will be some pockets of heavy rain, but not everyone will see the heavy rain. Stronger wind could be up to 35 miles per hour. That's nothing. That's like our normal springtime wind here in Corpus Christi. But we've been so calm, so our seas, our Gulf water has been basically flat, right? It's been gorgeous out at the beach. The water clarity has been beautiful. But because our wind is going to pick up, we're going to see higher surf, 2 to 4 foot waves, 6 to 7 seconds. And then tornadoes, not a risk at this point in time. They can happen, even with weaker tropical systems. But there is going to be a chance for some thunderstorms, so lightning. If you are trying to surf the uptick in our waves, you've got to watch out for lightning with these storms. Tornadoes unlikely at this point. So here's Futurecast. This is the wide view across South Texas. I didn't choose the view that showed the storm moving across the Gulf because I really wanted to focus on our area and the local impacts. But what you see is a very isolated chance of rain today. I don't think anyone sees rain today, to be honest. As we get into Friday morning, we're starting to see some of those spotty storms showing up mostly near the coast. The latest model run of the high resolution rapid refresh model is starting to show closer to 9 a.m. more coastal impacts as far north as Corpus Christi, Port Aransas, 9 a.m. As we continue into the lunch hour, coastal locations, again, this is where we have the best chance for a ½ inch of rain. If you see red on the screen, you could see higher amounts of rain. But overall, this is, again, a forecast model, so it's not an exact interpretation. It's not going to play out exactly this way, but you can see it gets a little bit more coverage. So I have about a 40% chance of rainfall there in terms of coverage. That's scattered coverage, mostly near the coast between 9 a.m. and 1 p.m. As we continue on, look, it weakens a lot. This is as the tropical system is moving onshore, and we start to lose the rain pretty quickly. Now Saturday, this is now kind of more so in between the low and the high, so I don't have where I can edit this, but in Mexico, that's where the low associated with this tropical wave would be, just to the west there of Laredo. Meanwhile, over Louisiana, there's an area of high pressure. And so you see the rain being kind of squeezed out more so in a line than a circle that looks like a tropical system because of that upper level setup. So we could see a few storms heading into Saturday morning and then even into Saturday afternoon, more so from that squeezing that takes place where the pressure gradient tightens in between the low and the high. Our gust, this is for Friday. This forecast model showing 30 mile per hour gust or less, I do think we could get up to 35, especially with thunderstorms in the area. Our sustained winds around 15 to 20, but again, I think it could get up to around 25 miles per hour. We are already seeing 3-foot swells out at the Freeport buoy. I do think our local wave heights get up to 2 to 4 feet, but again, you've got to watch out for lightning. That's going to be the biggest concern, mostly on Friday, not so much Saturday. But while we're at it, here's the latest on Tropical Storm Erin. 60 mile per hour wind gusts, or 60 mile per hour sustained winds, so that has escalated. Early this morning, it was 50, now it's 60, so this system is strengthening. It could be a hurricane. It will easily be a hurricane by Friday as it continues to move into the warm Gulf water. Pressure is now below 1,000 millibars, so that's another sign of it strengthening. We've got a west wind at 17 miles per hour. It is currently 890 miles off the northern Leeward Islands, and it is moving that direction, but it is expected to start to move a little bit northwest, west-northwest, to avoid a direct impact or landfall on those Leeward Islands. However, tropical storm force winds likely across the Caribbean, especially those Leeward Islands and Puerto Rico included in that. The forecast cone now showing that turn to the north. If it stays on the right side of that cone, easily going to miss the United States. If it stays on the left side of the cone, we will be watching for maybe some higher impacts for some areas of the East Coast. But again, the turn to the north is expected, still expecting minimal impacts to the East Coast. What will likely happen is a big boost in surf. And so you'll see that here, the coastal bend surf picking up, but also these are the waves. We're talking 20, 25-foot swells in the center of the storm as it's intensifying to Cat 3. We're getting 30 to 40 possible as it's intensifying, as it continues to move north. There at the coast, we're talking 6 to 8, possibly 8 to 12-foot swells. Periods will be in the teens, and so that's really going to elevate the rip current risk. And that is the number 2 weather-related fatality. And I think that's important to emphasize, is even if a storm is several miles offshore, 100 miles offshore or away from Corpus Christi, our surf obviously flattening because it's not in the Gulf. But I just want to emphasize that the center of the storm can be 100 miles away from the beach you're at, and the surf can be very, very dangerous. And you don't really realize it initially. You can see the big waves, right? But sometimes you're like, oh, that's fun. But it can turn really dangerous because these are waves that are generated by a tropical system, a hurricane, a strong hurricane. And so it can become really dangerous, and it can catch you off guard because there's no rain or high wind. It's just crazy big waves along the coast. And again, that's the number 2 weather or tropical related fatality over the last 10 years. Number 1 is inland flooding. So surf conditions are now worse than storm surge conditions because you can see the storm surge coming. The surf isn't always obvious. And so anyway, that storm system then curls back out to sea in the Atlantic, and you see all the large swells impacting boating, shipping conditions there across the Atlantic Ocean into the following weekend. So this is now August 23rd. That's too far out to really get excited about or focus on, especially for the East Coast, but I do want to emphasize at a minimum, surf conditions are going to be dangerous there along the East Coast next week. Of course, I'm a meteorologist in South Texas, in Corpus Christi specifically, and so for us, above normal temperatures are expected to continue. Will be about normal Friday and Saturday. We may be below normal Friday, depending how much rain we wind up seeing. But you've got to stay hydrated, especially as school sports are getting back underway. Tropical moisture and tropical moisture and rainfall possible as we head into Friday and Saturday. 40% chance Friday into Friday night, 30% chance Saturday, rain trending down into next week. More sunshine in the forecast, and temperatures are going back up. That's going to do it for this live update. I hope this was helpful. I'm meteorologist Carly Smith. Thank you for watching. The current time now is 10:15 a.m.